You're listening to Love and Libido with me, your host, Dr. Emily Jamia. The goal of this podcast is to educate and inspire. My hope is that you will learn tools to create connection and cultivate passion, both within yourself and in your relationships. Here's what's coming up on today's episode. It's Q&A day. Today, I answer questions about how to revive the romantic and sexual connection amidst life with toddlers, what to do if you've fallen into the roommate stage with your partner, and how to get your partner to give and receive more oral sex. Let's get started.
My husband and I have been married for 7 years. His love language is physical affection and mine is words of affirmation, so we've never really been on the same wavelength as far as sex goes. Over the last couple of years, we've kind of hit a rough patch with being unhappy with our jobs, financial stress, and just working through our own mental health issues on top of having 2 toddlers. When I was diagnosed with ADHD, I also had postpartum anxiety, and I know that was a rough few months for him. Now I'm on the right track. It seems that he's shut down, and most days he just gets home from work, sits on the couch, and plays on his phone, so I don't get much help. I don't say anything because I feel guilty about the months that I was shut down and he was the one that carrying most of the load. I could go on and on about how I feel, but it's like pulling teeth to get him to talk to me. We're kind of just in survival mode. How do we reconnect sexually and emotionally and thrive in this new stage of life when we're both so mentally and physically exhausted and one of us is working literally 95% of the time?
What a question. Thank you so much for sharing your story, because I know that so many people are going to relate to what you had to say. And that's really why I wanted to start these segments, because I'm just of the mind that nothing connects us more than hearing from other people. And so thank you again for sharing that. First, my heart just goes out to you. You are dealing with a lot. You've had 2 toddlers during a global pandemic. You are trying to find treatment for your mental health. You are experiencing career dissatisfaction and financial stress. That is a lot for any one person to go through. So, first, I want to normalize your experience. Research shows that marital satisfaction can go down by about 70% in the period after having kids. So you are not alone there. The good news is that for couples who can write it out and who have otherwise pretty good relationship skills, that satisfaction tends to go back up once the kids are a little bit older and more self-sufficient. And then, of course, there are couples who maintain pretty high levels of, relationship and sexual satisfaction while having young kids. But for the general population, relationships can kind of suffer when you've got young kids at home for a multitude of reasons. Plus the mental health issues that you're experiencing and the other stressors you've got going on, those are going to have a natural effect on sex. Anyone who's dealing with just one of the things that you described is likely to experience a dip in their sexual desire. I always remind people that desire is so complex. It is multifaceted. It is affected by so many different things or combinations of factors. And you've identified like 5 different things you've got going on in your life that are going to have a natural effect on your libido or on your partner's libido. So I want you to practice a lot of self-compassion. I think that's going to be the most important thing right off the bat, is to be gentle with yourself through this process. You used the word guilt in your question, and guilt is something that so many moms struggle with, but I think this is where self-compassion really comes into play. You want to create some space for you to get through the experience that you're going through, because it is a process and it's going to take some time. I don't know many couples who would be going through what you're going through and not experience a dip in relationship satisfaction or in sexual connection. So all that being said, I want to ask you a little bit more. My question to you would be, what was your husband's support like for you in the postpartum period? The postpartum period is one of the most challenging times in any woman's life, and really it's important that the mother's and the baby's needs are taken care of first. So I come back to telling you that I really want you to stop feeling guilty or selfish. Unfortunately, this still isn't something that is talked about very much. I wish that OBs would talk to partners a little bit about what to expect after a baby is born. There's so much focus on prenatal care, and I think that doctors have a really great opportunity to talk to partners about how they can be supportive of their partner, of the mother during the postpartum period, and also remind them that while it's normal for their needs to take a back seat for a period of time, that's usually temporary. So I just kind of want to know, I'm curious what his support was like of you and the baby in those, early weeks after you had your kids. Now, you do acknowledge that it was a rough few months for him. And I guess I'm also wondering if you've expressed that to him out loud. It might go a long way to validate his feelings, just saying something like, hey, I know that I really wasn't available to you for 6, 8, 12 months after I had the babies, and that it was really challenging because I was trying to figure out my postpartum anxiety and my ADHD. And I just want to let you know that I see that and that I feel that. I think a lot of times when conflict persists, it's because one or the other partner doesn't really feel seen or heard. Now, of course, I come back to what I was saying earlier, that it was normal for his needs to take a back seat for a little while. But, I think that just acknowledging that might have been a hard time for him could go a long way. I also I'm wondering like what his social support has been like. I wonder if he's connected with other dads or talked to anyone else. I'm just wondering if he knows that it's normal, that there's kind of a dip in partners' needs being taken care of during this time, and that it's usually temporary. As you're seeing now, it sounds like you're finally, to an extent, coming up for air and ready to reestablish a healthier connection in your relationship. And I hear that the issue now is that he doesn't really seem available. You said that you felt guilty about when he wasn't getting much help from you. You were taking care of a new baby and trying to keep yourself afloat. I struggled with postpartum anxiety myself, and it is so hard. I mean, I remember periods feeling like I was just underwater. And, it's interesting because I think we hear about postpartum depression, but people don't talk about postpartum anxiety that much. And I'm glad that you're sharing your story, and I'm happy to use this platform to share my story as well, because it was a really, really challenging time, and I had to get help as well. So I think that when you do sit down with your husband, just sharing with him a little bit more about what that was like for you and what your feelings were during that time could help him get a little bit more insight as to why you just weren't available to him for a while. I'm also hearing that a lot of managing things around the house has fallen on your shoulders. So it is super common for women to deal with issues around what we call invisible labor. And what this means is that in addition to working full time, which it sounds like you are, and maybe being the primary person who's taking care of the kids, that everything else as it relates to like managing the household or planning like dates or trips or, landing a babysitter, all that kind of stuff tends to fall on the woman's shoulder. So in addition to everything else you've got going on, you're the one meal planning. You're the one making sure you got a gift for his mother. You're the one, doing all the clothes shopping for the kids. You're the one making sure you registered them for school. And so there's just like this never-ending to-do list on the minds of a lot of women.
If you liked this video, drop me a like and subscribe below. Share with a friend who might find it interesting. You can also listen to this in podcast form anywhere podcasts are streamed by searching for Love and Libido with Dr. Emily Jamia. Finally, follow me across all social media channels at Dr. Emily Jamia for daily emotional and physical intimacy tips.